always thought of this, when I started getting into jiu-jitsu, it was like you had to make the investment in your name, hoping that it would pay off. So like I would pay to go to Worlds, hoping that I could accomplish something at Worlds that would make the next time I traveled more cost effective. At the start, when no one knows who you are, you have to fork out the money, you have to pay, you have to hope for a good result. Then you have to use whatever result you get to market yourself, to elevate your name. So hopefully maybe you get some privates next time you travel. Or as you get better and better, you get a seminar next time you travel. I remember the first time I did a competition trip where either the promoter paid for my trip or the expenses were covered from a seminar. I thought that was incredible. I could travel the world in a cost neutral position, which I probably wasn't cost neutral because I was probably losing hours of work back home. And then you get to that next level where not only do they pay you to travel, you get paid to show up for maybe a super fight, or you could host a seminar so big you can actually turn a good profit. And you go through those steps to get to a certain level in hoping that, like I said, that you get that result, which for me was the Leandro Lo result, which was years and years of investing in myself before I got the result that elevated my name to make it, to give me the ability to travel the world and make money, which is incredible. I don't know how many countries I've been to since ADCC, but I know I've only probably spent 6 to 8 weeks in Melbourne since ADCC. It's been a constant amount of traveling.
Craig Jones making big things happen. Momentum would be an understatement.
Yeah, well, I only started training properly maybe 2013. Before that, like, I was from a small city. We only had like one tournament a year. I think there were only a few black belts. I didn't even roll with a black belt for the first time until I got my purple belt. So up until that point, I had no idea that people could even make money in jiu-jitsu or anything. And I went on a vacation to the States and I decided to compete while I was there. And that's where I saw how big the sport was, and I really thought I could pursue it because like professional jiu-jitsu athlete sounds a whole lot better than a 9-to-5 job. So that was the main goal to begin with, to dodge real work. For the first ADCC I qualified for, I sold my car so I could afford to buy the flight to South Korea to do the trials. And in retrospect, I wouldn't recommend that to people because I don't think I should have won that. I probably wasn't the best guy in the tournament. I just had a really good day and was able to secure the first ticket. And then down the track, I moved to Melbourne in 2015 to sort of pursue jiu-jitsu on a more full-time basis with a bigger team and just train. And I thought that would make my life a lot easier, but I was actually broke. I was really broke. So I would do, I was only sleeping 4 hours a night. I would teach like the morning class, I would train at the lunch class, train at the night class. Between those sessions, I would do private lessons all day, and I would try and lift weights as well. And it was killing my body. I remember I got a blood test from a doctor, and he thought I had cancer or something. He thought there was something really wrong with me because he told me I needed to get a whole lot more rest. Yeah, I was just running my body down. But it all paid off in the end, and that followed right up from when I moved to Melbourne until I flew off for ADCC. And since then, it's been a whole lot less privates, a whole lot less classes, mainly seminars, which is obviously a much better use of your time in terms of dollars per hour.
Craig was already competing pretty well at purple belt when he came across to us, so he's already a good competitor. Probably the most interesting thing was that he would roll it was real like soft and flowy, like he never put any real intensity behind what he was doing. And I could just tell that if he starts getting used to the intensity and actually bringing some intent behind his moves, this guy's going to be really, really good. He already was good, but then and it was pretty quick. Sometimes you roll with someone and then 1 week you get them, and then the next week you're like, oh, they're stopping that. And then pretty quickly I was like, oh, this guy's going to overtake me pretty fast, and that's what happened. So yeah. And then here we are. Now he's like 95 kilos as well, so.
And his opponent representing Absolute MMA, put your hands together for Craig Jones. name for himself. He had some success at ADCC. He's back at the Eddie Bravo Invitational stage here tonight on bottom here of Andy Bravo.
Oh, right into inside Takako. Jesus, wow.
Quick work!
14
Craig
seconds.
Jones! Marcel Gonsalves on the left side of your screen. Craig Jones on the right. Our final quarterfinal.
Kind of thing with that leg racing over, sets up calf slices. That was in on the inside heel.
There it is! Craig Jones!
And that can work to your advantage when you're trying to get out of stuff, but it can work to your...
Unbelievable. That's about 40 seconds. Craig Jones is on his way to the finals with less than 90 seconds of work.
Before ADCC, I'd done an EBI and I'd won a couple of matches at EBI and got a little bit of media attention, but after ADCC, everything blew up. I remember I woke up the second day of ADCC, because the first day I beat Leandro and beat Murillo, and the second day I woke up with my Facebook inbox full of sponsorship requests from every single brand that I'd sent letters to in the past that had denied me. So that was probably the craziest experience. Obviously, seminar requests, more super fights. People requested me for super fights straight away. Eddie, I ran into Eddie in the hallway and he's already trying to put me on the next DBI. So that's where I blew up. I ran into Matt from Scramble and he was saying, oh, we're gonna get you on the next Polaris. So it was like, from that point on, everything was way easier. You go from being a jiu-jitsu bum to actually making enough money to get by.
Unbelievable!
Oh my God.
That right there, though, ladies and gentlemen, is what champions are made of.
And the crowd goes wild.
As they should.
Yeah, they put the odds out. And I remember in the entire tournament, I was one of the least likely to win my first match. I think it was 50-1 odds. I didn't know how it would go against Leandro, but I remember seeing his name. And had he not fought Gordon Ryan previously at the ADCC Super Fight and won, my confidence would have been higher. But I remember thinking like, I consider myself sort of from the same category as Gordon, sort of that Super Fight, no-gi, almost sub-only rule set. So I remember thinking, and Gordon's probably the best in the world at that rule set, and Leandro still beat him in an ADCC rules tournament. So I remember thinking, trying to tell myself, I'm like, I can still beat one of the best points fighters in the world, because our style's different, but having seen how much Gordon struggled with him, it was definitely, I predicted it was going to be a very challenging match. But even despite the Gordon match, I had to keep reminding myself, I'm like, Leandro is probably pound for pound, I think he's probably the best gi fighter that's ever been, given the fact that like he's won what, lightweight, middleweight, medium heavyweight, almost won heavyweight worlds in the gi. I kept telling myself, this is a different game. You know what I mean? Once upon a time, you could be the best gi guy and the best no-gi guy in the world, but I think as both those individual sports progress, it's going to be much more difficult to be the best at both. So I just kept telling myself, this is a different rule set. I don't think he's dealt with the leg lock entries like most of us have that have spent a lot of time in the no-gi world. So although he was the best guy, I remember thinking I should still be able to get on his legs once. But having watched a lot of Leandro's matches and never having seen him tap to anything to do with his legs, seeing Urbo Santos hyperextend his knee, I remember confidently thinking, I don't know if he's going to tap, no matter how bad I rip the heel hook from the position. And I think what helped me as well was, against Gordon, Leandro avoided really pressure passing and he tried to back out every opportunity he got. I think he got 2 double leg takedowns and avoided any elevation by Gordon the rest of the match. I think against me, given that he didn't know who I was, he was a bit more confident in pressing forward, which gave me the openings he probably didn't give Gordon. So due to probably a lack of respect for my game, helped me a great deal. I think if we have a rematch, it'll be, he'll have a much different strategy. So yeah, I mean, when I finally took his back and got the choke, I was as surprised as everyone else watching around the world. Nerves in the other way around. I get more nervous for matches people expect me to win because I feel like I have nothing really to gain from it. I feel like if everyone's telling me that's an easy match, you'll win it, like you have nothing to worry about, they're the matches I feel like I get nervous for, because I'm like, if I win, I just did what everyone expected me to do. If I lose, I feel like I've taken a big hit. So I actually get more nervous for the smaller matches. For the bigger matches, I try to forget really who they are as a person, which is difficult because you spend so much time watching highlight reels on YouTube and you elevate these guys to a certain level. So that's a tricky thing to overcome, but I just really try and relax as much as I can and forget about who they are and what they can do. I used to spend a lot of time, I'd see like the old school, like when I used to do more tournaments and they'd have a bracket and I'd see who my opponent was, and I'd start YouTube my opponent and I'd be like, I'd look up and see what they're really good at. And that would put me in the wrong frame of mind, because I'd be like, oh, maybe this guy's got a really good D'Arce choke. Then that would mess with my head and I'd be thinking about not getting D'Arce chokes. So I think these days I like to know less and less about what they're gonna do, unless it's something that's like, one thing they're really good at. It's good to be aware of it, but I wouldn't play too much into it, because then you get really, really defensive. I like to forget about who they are, maybe even watch some of my matches that are going really well for me, just to boost my confidence a bit before the match. And that helps me calm down a bit. Some people have it straight from the get-go. Some guys can fight the world's best guys straight away and the confidence isn't an issue. But I think usually those guys are from high-level teams already. For me, having not really been exposed to high-level guys like that, even against Homolo, I lost very quickly. But I mean, he doesn't just run through you. You can put up some roadblocks and stuff, and sort of in that respect, you see that they are human and that it is possible to beat those guys. So that's how my mindset sort of changed, like consistently fighting against high-level guys in competition. Each little victory, even though you lost, builds up the confidence for the next time. And then once you hit a certain level, the confidence doesn't even play a factor anymore. It's more like, for me, my mindset's always pretty sharp for competition now. It's just whether maybe the strategy is correct, or if I made an error early on that I couldn't make up for in like a time limit match. I study tape, not necessarily, I like to work out what they're gonna do. Like with Jake Shields, he's so good at the double body lock pass. So what's funny is I actually watched his tape, looked at him, how effective he was with the double body lock pass, and then for my whole camp, I just started using that and playing from top. Sort of like using his game, I mean, rather than trying to figure out how to defensively escape that position. And understanding what he's trying to do on top really helped me think about how to defend early what he's looking to do on top. But with Jake Shields, it was interesting. I think there's a lot of strategy going into it, because I see Jake Shields has been around forever, and he's moved to the Danaher team, and he was training, doing a lot of jiu-jitsu competitions out of there. So in my mind, and a lot of people initially probably thought, oh, Craig will have a lot of trouble heel hooking him because he's training with probably the best heel hooking team in the world. But then when we actually study his match footage, he hasn't changed his game that much. So in my mind, it could have gone two ways. I could have been like, all right, I better try a different strategy because he's training with the best guys at that in the world. Or having watched his tape and seen that he's not really utilizing that game to, he's understanding it better, but he's not really playing a big factor in his latest matches. So I was like, in that respect, I should have faith in what I'm doing and still go for the heel hook game. And some other areas as well where I think the Z guard is very beneficial, because I don't think there's many guys out there that play it to a high level or play a low knee shield game. So in my mind, I was like, although he knows what to prepare for me in that match, I don't know if he has any training partners that really use that game. So in that respect, I should still have faith in what I'm doing and target him like I would any other opponent. Everyone does the same thing in jiu-jitsu, you know what I mean? And when this new heel hook wave came about, a lot of guys wanted to disregard it, and they would consider that what their team's doing is right. We don't have to worry about the heel hook game. And I saw Gordon and stuff having success very early on with it, and I paid attention immediately. I think one of the first matches that really shocked me was Gordon Ryan against Enrico Coco, where he ran through Enrico at the Zapatero, and Gordon Ryan against Gabriel Arges. And matches like that where he submitted Gabriel Arges in under a minute. And I think a lot of people don't actually remember that or are aware that happened. So when you see things like that, that leads me in a direction for my technique. So I was like, straight away, I was like, I gotta try and work out, understand the heel hook game. And then as time's gone on, maybe I got into it at the right time, but that helped me a lot. Like, either I can use the heel hook game effectively in high level competition, or guys are so worried about my heel hook game that they mess up in other areas and allow openings in other areas where I wouldn't have usually got them. So I find heel hooks to be such a polarizing subject, something to be good at, something so useful to be good at, that it messes with my opponent's entire game. And that's allowed me to sort of get a head start in certain areas, especially obviously ADCC rules, sort of submission only rules. I've always played Z-guard. So Z-guard is what I used in the gi. And I remember a lot of people told me, oh, you'll never be able to do heel hooks with a Z-guard because your foot's sitting right there, you're gonna get heel hooked. And I didn't quite think that was true, so I adapted entries, and I did adapt entries that I've seen the Danaher guys do. Everyone watched them, everyone saw them as the pivotal leg lockers. I tried to find ways to get into their positions from a guard that they don't use. And Z-guard is what helped me do that, I think, and that's why the submissions are so quick. And also, there's still something so scary about heel hooks. It messes with guys' heads. For you to be good at that skill, throws them off their game immediately. And that's what I think sometimes allows you to get a quick submission. Z-guard's really easy to get. And it's really easy to get when people are scared of leg locks, because what's the first thing you do when you think someone has good leg locks? You don't stand up, you drop to your knees. So it allows me to slide straight into Z. And also the fact that I play Z on the wrong side, that messes with people's heads too. The fact that that works so well is because if 90% of people are right-handed, 90% of people play guard on the other side, that means you know all the tricks and off-balancing techniques they use, and you're sensitive to that on one side but not on the other side. And even if you try to practice on the other side, most guys' guards aren't as good on the other side. So the second I put them in an unfamiliar position on a side they're not used to playing, I find the entries come really quickly.
Craig Jones. What a year it has been, what a year it continues to be. Let's make it official. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner at just 34 seconds into regulation via heel hook. It is Craig Jones.
Jiu-Jitsu's been around so long, and it's been around so long competitively, that there was a void so big in the game that John Danaher and his guys were able to exploit to such a high level. You know what I mean? You think that all the shortcuts and tricks have already been figured out by now, and then something comes along and changes the game, and you see arguably some of the guys beat guys that are better than them in all other areas. You know what I mean? So I think that's how John Danaher has changed the game. He's created a wave. I always liken it to what John Danaher did is like the Mendes brothers with the Birimbolo, Ryan Hall with deep half guard, Ryan Hall with 50-50 guard. Every time someone's created a new part of Jiu-Jitsu, there's been a lot of hate immediately. I remember when we started learning the Birimbolo, I had old coaches and stuff say, why would you do this? This wouldn't work in the street. If someone did that to me, I'd toe hold them. I remember a lot of people were thinking that the Meow brothers would hit black belt and then get killed. But what John Danaher has done with the leg locks is there's a lot of pushback, a lot of hate. I know a big pushback with heel hooks were that they're too dangerous. We don't do them at our gym, they're too dangerous. But as there's a lot of hate, now it's just suddenly become accepted as part of the game. So John Danaher is responsible for that, the way I guess the Mendes brothers are responsible for the Birimbolo. He's really changed the game in a way that he's added something that's now become part of the game. Something that if you don't know it, you'll be destroyed with it. You know what I think, and I think even Danaher said this, I think the next big wave in Jiu-Jitsu will be driven from Jiu-Jitsu athletes with legitimate wrestling skills. Because what's going to happen is there's going to come an ADCC where a guy with legit wrestling skills is going to come along and destroy the competition. Not destroy him but submit him, but just expose a huge hole we all have in Jiu-Jitsu. And ADCC, the rule set allows wrestling to be exploited, but no one's quite done it yet. You know what I mean? And I think someone's going to come along, kill everyone with wrestling. And the wrestling Jiu-Jitsu game is still being figured out, because there's that, what wrestling moves can we use safely that we won't get submitted doing? And I think that'll be the next big big jump in Jiu-Jitsu. I know I want to get better at wrestling, but I don't think there's any Australians that can wrestle. The biggest goal is going to be ADCC in 2019. That's going to be priority number one. Hopefully I did enough to get the invitation. I don't have to go back and qualify, but that's my goal. I'm trying to make as much money this year of seminars and selling DVDs that I can do a camp for ADCC that's professional in every aspect. Nutrition's taken care of. All I'm doing is training. I don't have to worry about teaching seminars. Right now I'm traveling a lot doing seminars. I know for Kasai and for Quintet, I didn't even train. The whole time was spent on the road, so it was just trying to train at seminars, and I was using a lot of treadmills to stay fit, and then trying to compete, having not really trained for the event. But for ADCC, because I think if you win gold at ADCC, you're set for life. That's for me, it's number one. So in the immediate future, continue to make money, look for big super fights, but yeah, all eyes set on ADCC next year.